Welcome back again to our daily debate, and our guest is Sheikh Hossam Allam, lecturer at Al-Azhar University. Welcome, sir, with us here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. You've honored us with your presence. And well, with the events taking place on the local scene and the international scene, and we always hear that any kind of event, a tragic event or terrorist event, that is always like some, whether some try to stick it to Islam or the Islamic communities, or frame, let's say, like some of the Islamic, some maybe could be involved, but then we blame Islam instead of blaming the acts of some so-called Muslims, and there is here a big confusion. Okay, we'll talk about this later, but then like with this visit of the Grand Imam, Sheikh Hamad al-Tayyib, how do you see the significance of this visit to Europe at this time?
Yes. First of all, let me thank you for having me, and
thank you for coming here,
which is one of the best ones on TV International. And also, I'd like to extend my greetings to all our international viewers. But I'd like to first extend our deepest and most heartfelt condolences for all of the family members of the people, not only Egyptians, but all the international passengers who were on the Egyptian flight. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have mercy on them all. And of course, again, we extend our deepest condolences for all of them. Regarding the topic, which is the main focus of today's episode, which is a historic visit of Professor Ahmad al-Tayyib, the Grand Imam of Al-Azhar, to the Vatican, and before it to many European countries, and always this has been the stance of Al-Azhar, and also the following visit, which was in the wake of this historic visit to the Vatican, which was followed by the visit of the Grand Imam of Al-Azhar to France and Paris, as he was received by the French president, and also to commence and to attend the inauguration session for the forum for dialogue between the East and the West. I know that the question now in the minds of many people, why is it, and what about the timing, and why is it this has not been the case, especially when it comes to the Grand Imam of Al-Azhar himself. And it's very simple, because the amount of the challenges that now the Muslim Ummah is facing, and which, as you said, many things are right away attributed to Islam itself.
Exactly.
While of course this is a mere illogical association between Islam as a religion, as a way of life, as a religion that not only acknowledges the message of Prophet Muhammad, but also as a religion that's open and open-minded, and it acknowledges all prophets and the messengers, and it acknowledges Prophet Adam and all the way to Prophet Moses and Jesus. And it has always been one that has stood for peaceful coexistence and equality, not only here in the East, but also in the West, as it was in Spain and in many other places. So the point is, this comes as a recognition from the part of Al-Azhar, represented in its board of senior scholars, and also represented in the Grand Imam of Al-Azhar himself, to take a stance and to reclaim the narrative, and to make it clear that a great institution like Al-Azhar, and with the glorious name of Al-Azhar, will not just stand still with regard to all the campaigns of smearing the name of Islam and associating it with acts of violence and all of this. It is illogical, and it is quite preposterous, as a matter of fact, to say that just because there is a very thin minority of people who claim to be acting in the name of Islam, and this is per se, and in and of itself, is a pretext to blame Islam and to entire the whole Muslim nation for the acts of this minority. Otherwise, we would also be playing this game with Christianity, with Judaism, which is a mere great logical fallacy. So it is in this regard, Al-Azhar is making it clear that Islam, as a great religion, as a religion that recognizes the rights of the other, and as the Grand Imam of Al-Azhar himself, he made it very clear in many places, and also as he started the forum of dialogue between the East and the West, that we at Al-Azhar study a very important rule, and that's even when it comes to non-Muslims, when it comes to coexistence and the rights of nationality and all of this, both Muslims and non-Muslims, they enjoy the same rights and have the same responsibility. And of course, there are many other things that we can go through along the episode.
Well, let me just ask a question that came to my mind right now. Does Al-Azhar have any relationship with the imams that are in charge of the different mosques in the European or American cities?
Yes.
Because we hear a lot, now about some discourse that is not really related to Islam and that spreads hatred or that vilifies the rest of Muslims if you do not accept the views of a minority.
Yes.
How does Al-Azhar deal with that, and does Al-Azhar have the authority of appointing the imams that are in the different capitals, or say in the different mosques worldwide?
This is a very important question, which is a matter of fact I highly appreciate. So here we have 2 points regarding this question in particular. On the one hand, the message of Al-Azhar and the Islamic discourse that Al-Azhar adopts when it comes to peaceful coexistence and also the sort of integration that also recognizes the legal system of the countries or the states that Muslims are living in, and also maintaining their identity as Muslims and also their Islamic values. So when it comes to the first part, which has to do with the discourse, and of course the second part, which is what kind of role Al-Azhar is legitimized or is authorized to play when it comes to imams, and who is the one to assume this important responsibility. When it comes to the kind of discourse, Al-Azhar has always been in charge of educating and graduating not only Egyptian or Arab international students, but we have international students from across the globe, and they amount to the number of 40,000 international students in all the educational levels, undergraduates and also postgraduates, and they come from 130 countries. So Al-Azhar has been always offering scholarships for these students who come here and they graduate, and of course they are in a position to serve as imams back home in their countries. And of course Al-Azhar's curricula and its academic approach has always been one that completely calls for peaceful coexistence, for mercy, for mutual understanding, for mutual respect. And this was very clear from the message of the Grand Imam, not only to imams and Islamic officials, if you like, who are responsible for the Muslim communities, I mean in Europe or any other countries abroad, but even he was addressing all Muslims, ordinary Muslims living in the West, that they need to recognize that they are citizens of these countries, and being law-abiding citizens does not go in contradiction with being Muslims.
Exactly.
And of course, there is nothing that would force a Muslim to do something which completely goes against his religion. And of course, there are legal channels, even if there is a problem or a challenge like this. Violence or resort to violence would not be the solution, or how we would address such a challenge that Muslims may face. But there are legal channels, there are certain civilized channels that Muslims can go through in order to reclaim their rights and also to serve as productive citizens of their countries. And alongside with this and coupled with this, we know that there are many delegations that come on a daily basis, as a matter of fact, to the office of the Grand Imam of Al-Azhar's, when Al-Azhar's Sheikhdom or Al-Azhar's headquarter, which is the Supreme Council of Al-Azhar, and they come from all walks of life, ordinary people, high-level officials, diplomats, heads of states even, and Al-Azhar's message and very clear stance in this regard has always been one that calls for the mutual respect, that calls for mutual understanding, and that completely rejects anything that would lead to violence or that would lead to violent extremism or any sort like this. But of course, Al-Azhar now has been trying to play a greater role when it comes to who would be in charge of the Islamic centers and the mosques and all of this. And this is why you have now Al-Azhar's international graduates
Okay, can we come to this point? Very important, you're not assuming that, but we do have a report and then we'll proceed. We do have a report about our top Muslim cleric, Sheikh Al-Azhar, Ahmad Al-Tayyib's address in the German parliament. Stay tuned to us, don't go away.
Imam of Al-Azhar, Ahmad Al-Tayyib, made a speech on Tuesday before members of the German Bundestag, representatives of federal government and religious communities, affirming that Islam is a peaceful religion. His speech further sought to distance the religion and its followers from holy warriors, referring to radical groups. In his speech at the German parliament, the Grand Imam said terrorists who commit their crimes in the name of religions do not represent those religions. He added that in fact they are betrayers of the religions they claim to fight for, and called on Muslims and Christians to unite in the face of extremism, terror, and injustice in all of its forms. The main focus of Al-Tayyib's talk inside the Bundestag building was Islam's capacity to embrace diversity and religious freedoms, while a discussion between the head of Egypt's top religious authority and the attendants revolved around interpretations of the Quran and the modernization of Islam. Al-Tayyib was invited by the University of Munster to attend an academic conference. The Grand Imam requested to talk to members of the German parliament to discuss Islam. The discussion, entitled Islam and Peace, saw questions from the attendees about a verse in the Quran with orders to kill infidels, to which Al-Tayyib responded by saying it is taken out of context, as it is preceded by explanation that the order targets infidels who initiate attacks against Muslims. Al-Tayyib said the fight for us is about defending and shielding assault, not about disbelief. Al-Tayyib also tackled the issue of Islam's compatibility with modern states and Western values, saying that Islam can cope with any developed ruling system that grants equity and justice. Al-Tayyib rebuffed the idea of a European Islam, saying that it is the same religion across the world with the same rules and acts of devotion. Tayyib is currently in Berlin, where he visited Germany's Roman Catholic Church and met with top Christian clerics and interfaith dialogue leaders.